Hello and welcome to Health Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen, and today we've got another great episode for all of you. For those watching video, new studio, trying to chill it out, still figuring out all the technical audio sides of this because it's all brand new to me. But because of the listeners, for you guys, we decided to go a little more formal with the show. It's been, like we said, over 5 years, over 250 episodes. That's a lot of Anthony. And I hope you all enjoyed last week's episode where we did a re-intro to who I am, where the Redefined Fitness came from, and then some hard truths in that. But without further ado, we have a great guest on for you all today. We have Jim Walter. Jim, it's a pleasure to have you on today.
Anthony, thank you. First of all, love the green background. It looks great there. So good choice on doing that. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I look forward to, talking to you a little bit more about what my mission is all about.
I love it, man. I really can't wait. So let's talk a little bit about you, kind of how you got started in the fitness world and what made you go from where you were to wanting to be a motivational speaker, getting people to move.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm trained as a cardiovascular exercise physiologist, and I spent the first 10 years of my career running preventive and rehabilitative cardiology programs. I've spent the last 25 years in the pharmaceutical industry, but what I've missed is really the ability to work directly with individuals. I've always been a big advocate of the fact that our health is our own responsibility, and it's really incumbent upon us to take care of it. What drives me are really two factors, one of which is my father died very young. He was 45 years old. He died from his third heart attack at that time. And one of the contributing factors, there were several, but one of the contributing factors was that he did not live a very active lifestyle. And the second thing that frustrates me as an exercise physiologist is that in exercise, we've got arguably the most potent form of medicine known to mankind. If you look at all of our major chronic health issues, one thing that has an impact on almost all of them is regular physical activity. But if you were to go to the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control website today, it tells us that most Americans don't exercise. 25% are completely sedentary. And then as much as 60% don't do a whole lot more than activities of daily living. So I am a big advocate of exercise. But if people aren't doing it, should we just leave them alone? So I don't think so. And perhaps what we need to do is change our message to something that everyone can do. And for me, my message is trying to promote people to simply move more throughout your day. And when I do public speaking, I give people a lot of ways that they can go through their day and re-engineer their day in order to introduce more movement into their day.
Yeah, I mean, you hit a very important point, which is people don't even do the bare minimum. And you see it more and more as time goes on. And I've done a lot of shows on this, right? We've talked a lot pretty in detail as far as what is the bare minimum? Why don't people do it? What's the psychology behind of teaching someone just the simplest things is like you mentioned pre-show, walk down a flight of stairs to go to the bathroom just a little out of your way just to get a couple extra steps in. And I don't know what that root cause is, but I have guesses. And it's kind of what we talked about last week with my own personal thing. I think people are always looking for the easy way out. They always think that someone is going to catch them. And with that, that would be modern medicine. And our day and age, they say, oh, it doesn't matter if I get type 2 diabetes, I'm going to take insulin and then I'll be fine. Or it doesn't matter if I have a heart attack, I go to the hospital and they'll be able to fix me up. And then whatever that doctor tells me, then that's what I'm just going to go for. And it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the one point you made, I think there's often two root causes of why people don't engage in exercise. One of them is it's too hard. they're not motivated, they just don't want to do it. And the second one is time. They say they don't have the time to do it. And so when I said earlier that I try to introduce ways that people can re-engineer their days, it's ways of just going about their day, doing things a little bit differently, and replacing inactivity with mobility in very simple ways that don't take up time. So yeah, as I mentioned to you before, I never use a restroom on the floor that I'm on. And other, like, a simple example would be, everybody's got to go out their front door perhaps to get their newspaper in the morning or to get the mail midday. And so instead of going out your front door, re-engineer it. Maybe go out your side door or your back door, a way that's going to take a little bit more mobility to do it. And will that take extra time out of your day? Yes, it will, not significant amounts, but it doesn't change your day because I've been doing this for years and I don't go to bed later at night because I go out the side door. You just absorb that time during your day. And so if we can introduce ways that people can add simple ways of moving consistently throughout their whole day, that's what I'm trying to promote.
Yeah, and then you mentioned two reasons, right? One is motivation. And motivation's good for initial kickstart, but I don't think it's motivation that people need. I think it's discipline that people need. Motivation gets you going, discipline keeps you going, right? A good example of that is kind of what you're saying is simple fixes like going your back door to your mailbox. Initially, it's the motivation of, yes, I want to do something. But what if it rains? What if it starts snowing out? What if it's a little too cold outside? What if you're more tired that day? Motivation's out the window. That now needs to shift to discipline. I need to do this for myself.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
working out, using the gym for an example. You get motivated to show up. And it's the discipline. Like I work out even when I don't want to work out. The days that I'm not motivated, I don't want to be here, don't want to stay longer after my shift to hit the gym. But the discipline then kicks in. No, I need to. I need to do this for myself. I need to do this for my family. I need to do this for my community. And even for myself, I take it to the next step. I need to do this for my
Yeah.
country because I'm working out to show people that anything is possible through fitness. And fitness isn't truly medicine. It's something I full heartedly believe in. But how do we create the discipline side of it into people to teach them to do it even when they're not motivated?
Yeah, and discipline is a right word. Another word that you can use for that is habit. Making it a habit. And that's the part about keeping things simple and not making them time consuming, is that it's easier to build that into a habit. And I don't even think about the things now that I do anymore because I've just built them in, and I continue to find new ways to continue to add more movement. That's part of what I try to teach people about. I will give you suggestions. I've given one. I'll try to give more throughout this conversation of things that people can do. But what I also want to do is encourage people to find their own ways to move more, because my suggestions pertain to me and my environment, which could be very different than everybody else's. And so I want them to put on their thinking caps and to be creative, and using mine example, say, well, I can't do that, but maybe this is what I can do. And going back to the responsibility part, um, I, I try to build motivation into my talks, and I use things that I've heard. And one of the things I've done is taken the iconic words that our president John F. Kennedy used during his inaugural address, and I've reconstructed them a little bit because I love the way you said, do stuff and do for our nation. And the way I've reconstructed those words is to say, ask not what your healthcare provider can do, ask what you can do for your health. And that's a perfect example of what you just said.
Yeah, I agree. I think I want to talk about a little fun thing that I do here with our clients and having all their packets and stuff, because I think you're gonna love this. I talked about this like way years and years ago back in the show, but I think it's so cool. In my personal life, you mentioned having different habits and adding different things to make you move a little more. I created my own little thing. It's called a radius rule. So the idea behind it is I have a set radius from where I am of, well, let's say I'm going to the restaurant on the other side of the shopping center. If that's within my radius, let's say it's a tenth of a mile, I have to walk. It doesn't matter. I am not allowed to get in my car and drive there. If it's under a tenth of a mile, I'm walking. And
Yeah.
you can take this little radius rule and you can slowly start expanding it. So you take the tenth of a mile to a quarter mile to half a mile. And before you know it, you're adding so many more steps in your day because you're just disciplined yourself. Like, I cannot break this rule. I
Yep.
have to go do this extra walk. I always want to add a caveat, barring like going across a crazy federal highway and you're going to die. Like,
Right. Right.
there's always, of course, these extreme examples. But just in general, if there's a coffee shop within 20 minutes and I want a cup of coffee, I'm not driving, I'm walking. Like,
Right.
that's, I'm not allowed to get in my
Yeah.
car. I have to walk there. Otherwise, I break my own radius rule. But who am I to
Yeah.
preach this and not practice it?
Yeah. Hey, listen, I love that. That's great. I'm smiling because I think that's great. And then there's the another side of that that's sometimes frustrating for me is in trying to always pick these opportunities to move more. And I do a fair amount of traveling. And one of my biggest pet peeves are the hotels where the the steps, the emergency exit steps only have doors that say only use this in the case of an emergency. So you can't use the steps. You might be on the second floor or the third floor. Easy to use the steps, right? No problem, but you can't because of those things. And that just really, really frustrates me and would clearly abolish your radius rule because, hey, this is simple. And then you run into those obstacles. So but yeah, thank you. I love that, and if you don't mind, I'll probably promote that as well because it is a way that you said, yeah, you can make gradual changes, and that's what my suggestions are all about. Are these gradual changes? Just look for a way to move. So I'll add another one that I just came up with the other day. So I went downstairs. As I said, I work on the second floor, and it wasn't like today where it's 101 degrees. This was a few weeks ago when it was still quite cool outside. And I was working here and it just got a little bit of a chill. So I thought, you know what, let me go down and I'll make a cup of tea real quick. And it was about late morning, close to midday. And I went down and I took the water and I put it in the microwave. And for me, it takes 3 minutes to heat it up. Now, what most people are going to do is stand there and wait for the water to heat up. But I thought, applying my own principles, is what can I do instead of standing here to move? And I'm thinking, mail. It's time to get the mail. I could go get the mail. So what I did was is I walked out and I got the mail and I came back in and there was still a minute and a half left on the timer. So I could have waited, made my tea and gone upstairs, but I decided no. Let me walk and take my mail. I left my wife's downstairs, took my mail upstairs, put it on my desk, and then came back down, and then my tea was ready. So again, just looking for an opportunity to introduce movement, subtle, simple movement where you otherwise might be sedentary.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I always use the example nighttime activities, right? A lot of people, what do they do when they get home from work? They eat dinner, they turn TV on, bond with their family.
Yeah.
Jim, if you ever watched a movie or TV show, I mean, obviously you have, this is a joke, but do you do much talking with your wife or significant other when you're watching TV? Do you get to bond with each other?
Yeah.
Not really.
Absolutely not. No.
So my wife and I mean, we're more morning people, but I like right when I get home from work, it's pats out. So we do it in the morning, but I know most people it's nights for them. Go for a walk. Take
Yeah.
your wife out for a walk, just casually, little slow pace. use that as bonding experience. My wife and I go on walks every day,
Yeah.
almost without fail, and we go for about an hour, and it's our opportunity to like talk about our days, get to know each other a little more. I mean, we've been together 11 years, but we still want to make sure we continue that strong relationship bond. People
Yeah.
talk about the divorce epidemic. I think a big fix is just go for walks with your wife. So therefore, you're both bonding, right? You're creating that special relationship you have with your spouse. You're both moving, so you're feeling better, right? Your endorphins are spiking, you're getting
Exactly.
more vitamin D because you're outside. So now you're getting a little happier and you're boosting your immune system. You're hopefully, if you do this over a long time, you're compounding interest and helping yourself lose weight. And then I'm going to throw a fifth little bonus one. You get to have more sex, which is also physical activity. So you walk, physical activity, get the bond with your wife. Your wife loves you more, and you start having more sex with your wife. It's more
Yeah.
physical activity, and now you have a closer relationship with your wife. So now you have like that positive feedback loop
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
you and your spouse because you just decided instead of watching a movie and then going to bed to go for a walk. And
Yeah.
another fun one, which I can't believe I totally forgot to mention, watching the sunset or going for a walk like at dawn time helps your body relax and increase your melatonin increase. So therefore helps you sleep better at night.
Sleep better. Yeah.
Not staring at your phones and the TV is going to drain your sleep. And we all know the issues with sleep. It's going to spike the cortisol. It's going to make you hungrier. So you can eat more food the next day. You're going to retain more. You're not going to build much lean muscle mass. So many negative side effects to not getting enough sleep. So there's so many wins just for one little simple
Yeah.
habit change, like you mentioned. Just
Yeah.
get outside, go for a walk. And I had someone that I mentioned this to, and they did it for like a couple days, and then motivation was great, and then
Yeah.
discipline kicked in, and it didn't. They didn't follow through. I besides hounding these people, I don't know how to get through like the majority of people. The people that come here and walk into the gym, they already made that mental like I need help. And those people that come to us that break that, like I need help, I can help. And same with you. If they're booking you to be a speaker and they're showing up, they already checked in their brains that they need help and they're looking for someone to help them. So you speaking to them or them walking into my gym is gonna help them.
Yep.
But how do you address the 85% of people that haven't had that mental clarity? Like, I need to get help. Like, how do you talk to those people that don't want to hear it?
Well, see, I'll go back to the words that I used that I reconstructed from JFK's speech, and this is hard, and I know it's a difficult thing to get across, but to try to really impress upon people that it is your responsibility to take care of your own health and what can and then we're both talking about ways that they can do that. And what I reinforce in that message is to say, let's take, for example, somebody who has diabetes, just as an example. And what I might do is I'll ask them, I'll say, so you've got diabetes, okay? This may be able to be managed, but who's really responsible for helping to manage or to take care of your diabetes? And most of the time, you'll get the answer, well, it's my physician, my primary care physician, or the endocrinologist. And I say, okay, that's that's good, yeah. And I said, and then I would say, and this would be the way of trying to make the point. I would say, and how many days of the year do you have diabetes? And they always look at me like I'm nuts, right? But, obviously the answer is every day. So then I say, and I try to put the two things together. So then I'll say to them, okay, so you have diabetes every day. And how many days in the course of the year do you see your physician? If they're well managed, it might be 2 or 3 times during the course of the year. So I bring it back to them then who is really responsible for managing your diabetes? Who's responsible for managing your high blood pressure? Who's responsible for managing your high cholesterol? It's you. And so then what can you do to get to the point you made besides taking pills that can help with that? And then we say exercise. Oh, too much for me. I can't do that. You know, the CDC again tells us that's 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity. I can't do that. So that's when I'll come back to them. But what can you move more? Can you just move more? And then start to give them examples of something that they can do to just begin to add that gradual movement. And then my hope is you do that for some people, it might be a couple of months, some people it might be 6 months, some people it might take a whole year, and maybe their confidence increases, and I've seen this happen. And then maybe they then would be willing to come to your gym and really get involved and do the exercise that we would want them to do.
Yeah, I mean, I get it if you get in front of them, right? If you have the opportunity to have that conversation with the person, kind of like if I had the opportunity to sit down and someone at the time to hear that listen to me talk. But there's hundreds of millions of people in the US,
Yeah.
right? So how do you talk to everybody? I mean, maybe the next question is, and for listeners, let's say I'm a listener to this show, what would you tell the listeners to tell the people in their lives, or is it even their place to tell them? Like the example I always use, let's say your loved one smokes, right? A pack a day, and you know it's killing them, right? We all know that. Do you let them smoke, or do you sit them down and have that hard conversation, like, "Hey, can you stop smoking? I want you around."
Yeah.
And I feel like society for obesity has put this norm on it to make it okay. And people think it's okay to be morbidly obese, and you're not allowed to tell somebody that might need help because then you're going to look down upon, and then they're going to sit there and ridicule you, and you're not accepted, and you don't understand. But all you're trying to do, like me and you, is save their life.
Yeah.
But they don't. Society doesn't even let you have that conversation. So what can we do to combat that, or what can we tell people that are listening to the show? Like, is it even okay to have that conversation with a loved one?
Yeah. I think it is. I think it is. So I'm gonna answer that question with a lesson that I learned. So in my younger year, I was a basketball player. I played basketball up and through college, and then I stopped and I got involved with helping others through basketball camps and clinics and stuff. And when we would go to the sleepaway basketball camp, the director, my mentor, an amazing individual, he was a teacher and he always taught us things. And we'd have 110 kids at camp and stuff like that. And he'd sit us down, all the counselors, before the camp began. And he says, "Look, your job is to go out here and help all of these kids. But in the end, some are going to listen and some are not. And if you can walk away from this camp having had, I'll just say, a significant impact on just one kid, you've done your job. The more the better, but the one kid." So I agree. And my message applies to every single American, right? Exercise might not apply to every single American, but mine does. Move more. Look, I just took a step backwards and forward. I just moved more. And then doing that more and more consistently. And so for me, it's just trying to simplify the message to something that everybody can do. Will you reach everybody? No. No. And that's frustrating. And I could see the way you were emotional about that. And it's been that way for me too. Um, I've had people in my family. I come from a family of people who were smokers. Um, Not all of them, but a lot of them. And then also people that weren't necessarily physically active. And all I can do is share the message and try to simplify it as much as I can. But I have to accept the fact that I might not touch everybody. I just hope to be able to touch more. And since the message is simple, then they can share that with others and then they can touch more. And hopefully that 6 degrees of separation will have an impact. But yeah, we unfortunately, as much as we'd like to, we can't save the whole world.
but we can certainly try.
We can try, and that's what you're doing, and that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. Can I go
That's the
back for a
bigger,
second? I want to go
yeah.
back to your because I want to share two more examples of your walking with your wife in the evening and stuff like that. So yes, that's great. That's one way of doing it. But sometimes when I'm giving these talks, I talk about the person that comes home from work and they had to take their kids to their sporting events and then they get home after that and they're in a position, they're fortunate, they still have parents around and they want to check in with their parents. Nobody is using a landline anymore. Everybody's got a cell phone. So, again, there's another way. There's no reason whatsoever for you to sit while you're talking to your parents and checking in. Now, I'm not saying go out and exercise, but can you just meander around your house? If it's a nice evening, can you go and walk around the block or something like that? And sometimes these are things just people just don't think of, and it's quite simple. And then here's the frustrating one, because my kids were very involved in sports. I took them to their soccer practice, their baseball, their softball practice, and part of the group of people I'm trying to reach are the ones that say, "Look, I work all day. I come home. I make dinner. I help the kids with their homework. I take them to soccer practice. Come home. I've got a little work to do. When am I supposed to exercise or even be more physically active?" And they're the same people that go to the soccer field or the baseball or softball field, drop their child, let them out of the car, pull their lawn chair out of the back seat, and sit and watch that practice. There's 60 to 90 minutes where you can just get up and meander around the field, but they don't. And I think sometimes the reasons is we got to give them permission. Tell them, get up, walk around. I used to do that all the time. I wouldn't sit still at the practices. And, sometimes I'd throw my bicycle into the back of the SUV so I could do something different. But I think that's the part of the point that I'm trying to make, Anthony, is sometimes people just don't see these opportunities to move that are right there in front of them. And so we need to tell them.
I mean, you mentioned the phone thing. I'm laughing. I fast walk when I'm on the phone. Like, I get 15,000 steps in sometimes out of a
Yeah.
45-minute conversation because I'm just like, my ADD kicks in. I'm up, down, left, right. Oh, my wife's like, oh my God, stop running.
Yeah.
But that's just what it was built in to get myself up, moving, get my brain thinking, working. I feel sluggish sitting doing this right now is
Yeah.
tough for me. And
Yeah.
you notice I'm using a lot of hand motions to kind of like compensate for the sitting.
Yeah.
But I'm used to just bouncing, so I love that. And then the sports practices, I mean, yeah, I you see parents and it's this and
Yeah.
it's scrolling
Yeah.
and they want 20 minutes to go by and they're trying to get a dopamine hit just by scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I want to take the phone and throw it away out of their hands and just be like, you'd be way more involved in this practice. Like if you're at baseball practice, for example, get up to the cage, walk around, cheer your kid on, cheer the other kids on,
Yeah.
let's go. Like walk out to the outfield at the sideline and you can watch and walk back. And it's a great way to be like involved
Yeah.
and make sure everyone's like there, moving, etc. Or if you bring your kids with you, like because you have a bunch of them, have the other kids kick a ball around, throw a frisbee around. Like
Yep.
get up and just do it with them. Like, hey guys, just throw the frisbee around when we're trying to kill time. One parent's distracting, the other kid's doing that, the other one's watching, everyone's outside. It's you're still kind of all mostly together. I'm a really big component of we lose family values along with making this obesity epidemic worse. I think both are really the same bucket. And I don't think they're different. I think they're exactly the same. Everything that comes with depression, anxiety has been linked to not moving. So
Yep.
you add movement, you fix anxiety, depression. You add movement with you doing it to family. You build strong family bonds. You start fixing kids as their programming getting older and teaching them values, different
Yeah.
values of like, no, we need to move. We're not sitting in front of the screen today. Your kid imitates you. Like I have a 7-month-old at home. He just watches me. It's whatever dad's doing, he wants to know and wants to do. If I'm eating something, he wants that. He doesn't care if it's what it is and what it tastes like, just wants what that is.
Yeah.
And you might think that as a parent, oh, I'm only hurting myself. No, you're hurting your kids. Like your kids are going to learn every lesson from
Yeah.
you. There's a reason that parents that are overweight, their kids are even more overweight. And then childhood obesity. Your type 2 diabetes is more likely your kid has type 2 diabetes. And
Yeah.
what's worse, the kid, because now they're going to have it for even longer period of time. So even if, and this yet again, discipline comes into place, you don't want to do it for yourself because you feel like, oh, I don't care about myself. And I know people feel that it's fine. Do it for your spouse, and especially do it for your kids.
Yeah.
Teach your kids a valuable lesson how to live longer lives. The average lifespan of a human being is going down, not like it was for thousands of years. We're going this way.
Yeah.
Because people aren't moving. There's no movement inside people's life. People aren't eating healthy, and it's this frustrating build up inside of me because I just want to fix it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like controlling person, and I just want to fix it. And like you're saying, there's so many little tiny things that people can do. You don't have to work out 7 days a week, 2 hours a day to be healthy. There's little things. Like I see so many people who go from like the place next to us to 3 stores down, and they drive their car.
Yeah.
They pull into like 10 spots later, drive the car to go into the next place.
Yeah.
You're teaching your kids the wrong values. And
Yeah.
I just
And,
know how to fix it.
and we go through the day with blinders or barriers on. And what I mean by that is so let's say, I'm going to suggest to someone, use the steps instead of the elevators. And then this is a thing that I've gotten feedback on. They say, well, Jim, I work on the 22nd floor. Do you really expect me to take 22 flights of stairs to my office? And this is where the blinders are on. Is no, I don't expect you to take 22 flights of stairs. Can you take the elevator to the 19th floor and then get off and walk up 3 flights of stairs? Do that for a few weeks, then get off on the 18th floor. But that's part of what my message is all about is trying to get people to see beyond these barriers that are self-imposed and look for a way, to add more movement. Again, here's another one I just did the other day. My son was downstairs and I needed to tell him something. And I'm upstairs and he was downstairs. What are most people going to do? They're going to walk to the banister, yell down, "Hey, son, can you take the trash out?" or whatever it is that you needed to do. You know what I did? I went over, I walked down the steps, I walked into the kitchen, I told him what I needed to tell him, and then I walked back upstairs. It doesn't take a lot of time and it doesn't take a lot of physical effort, but again, you use the important word there, the cumulative benefits of doing all these things throughout your day will make a difference. I cite a study that shows that was from the Mayo Clinic Proceedings, which is a very reputable journal, and um, it says that simply replacing sitting with standing, not once but throughout the day, replacing sitting with standing, resulted in small but statistically significant differences in fasting blood sugar and body fat mass. Just something that simple. So then you make that simple thing and you add a little bit more, and those benefits become a little bit more. And so that's what I'm trying to do is simplify it for everybody, make it easier. As I told you before, do I want everybody to exercise? Absolutely. But if we can't get there right from the start, at least start by moving more.
Yeah, movement is key, man. Start small, start gradual, build that compound interest,
Exactly.
right? If you compound interest 1% on $1,000 in like 30 years, it's going to be worth a hell of a lot more. And you'll
Right.
start seeing the benefits way later in life. but it's just a matter of doing it. It's a matter of pushing yourself through, even if you don't want to do it. And those days that you go do the work that you just really don't feel like moving or walking down the stairs to talk to your family are the most important days. And those are what truly define you as a human being and really sets your own personal standards and how
Yeah.
you view yourself. And if we can set higher standards for ourselves, then other people will try to live up to those standards and try to be the better people because we are humans, help work as a community for each other. A interesting point which a lot of people always use is you become the average of the 5 people that hang out the most with. And I know I say this a lot. It's people use that for financial standpoints or whatever, but even regardless of that, if you want to get in shape, just hang out with 5 people that are in shape. That's
Yeah.
it. You want to talk about a simple, easy thing. Spend more time with 5 people that are in better shape. You know why? Because all those people have all those habits Jim's talking about right now already built in. So
Yeah.
you're going to start doing it second nature because they're doing it because you want to follow along. And they're like, oh, guys, let's go get ice cream. Let's go walk on the block. You're not going to be like, you guys walk. I'm going to drive.
Yeah.
No, you're going to go walk with them. Right. So even the simplest thing of all is just start hanging out with people that are more in shape. And then if you want to help your family and they hang out with you the most, you become the one that's more in shape. And then they're going to start picking up your habits because now they're, oh, you were going to go do that. And if I tell my wife, honey, let's go walk at the block and we'll go get a cup of coffee or whatever. And she'll be like, say, you want to drive? I said, no, it's walk. It's a beautiful day. Let's go hang out with each other. She's going to follow me and walk with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So either become that person for your family or go hang out with those people that already
Yeah.
have those habits stills. And I think that's the simplest fix.
Yeah. And
Gotta go
Anthony,
today.
you used a word a few minutes ago that I want to come back to. You were talking about us as humans, right? And I want us to think about, and this is another message that I would share with people, either in talking with them in a group or on individually, is our human biology. And I'll ask you a very simple question. Structurally, what are we designed for? Sitting or moving? It's moving.
Swinging from trees, actually. But no.
It's moving, right?
It's
And
moving.
in fact, do you know what the most common pain complaint is for people in the United States?
Lower back.
Lower back problem. You know why? We are not designed to be sitting. We are not. We're designed to be moving. So we create lower back problems because we sit. And if we could just adapt this idea of trying to replace sedentariness with movement, we can have an impact on a lot of things, not just the chronic health conditions, but even the pain issues that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Simple little fixes make all the difference in the world. I think that's
Absolutely.
the really big talk point here. Jim, I'm going to ask
Yep.
you the final 2 questions I ask everyone as we wrap this up. So the first question is, if you were to summarize this episode in 1 or 2 sentences, what would be your take-home message?
My take-home message would be to look to create ways to re-engineer your day, simple ways where you can replace not moving with an opportunity to move. And when you do that, you will gain health benefits from it.
I love that. And then, Jim, second question: how can people find you, get a hold of you, learn more about your speaking? Take it away.
Yeah. So you can go my website, Jim Walter Speaks. So just as my name is spelled, jimwalterspeaks.com. And then I can be reached on email via jim@jimwalterspeaks.com. And then if people still use a phone to call somebody, I can be reached at area code 609-273-3118.
Jim, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of Health Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, subscribe to the show, share this with someone that needs to hear this, and we'll see you next time. Fitness is medicine.